The Infinity Wars have spanned dimensions and split the universe in half. What'll happen next? Well, let's hop into the pages of Infinity Wars issue number 6, the grand finale of this event, and find out for ourselves. So, picking up from where the last issue left off, Loki is talking with God, the Celestials, and no, don't actually ask me when this takes place in time, not even Loki is 100% sure. In fact, this whole thing gets even more confusing because Loki mentions meeting the Celestials before, potentially traveling through time and having this meeting multiple different times, and then even brings up Wolverine and the Phoenix, which happened near the end of an Avengers issue from not too long ago. Loki wonders that if it's the Celestials who have been puppeteering his life from afar, and when he doesn't get the answer he wants, he basically just bows out of the entire story. No, literally, he leaves. He drops off the Infinity Stones with the rest of his cosmic Avengers team and then just bounces. And as you may discover from watching the rest of the video, that was probably the smart thing to do. Now that the Cosmic Avengers have all the Infinity Stones, they're ready to deal with Devondra, the giant soul-eating spider creature. The Warped Avengers are currently keeping Devondra busy, as well as beating up Gamora, aka Requiem, who, yeah, probably deserves it, but also doesn't deserve it. In fact, whether or not Gamora was the ultimate villain of this story is going to come into question later, and it really only gets more confusing, trust me on it. You see, now that the good guys have a full set of Infinity Stones, they're ready to defeat Devondra and get the universe back to the way it was. There's only one problem, as Adam Warlock brings up. Oh, also, I should probably mention, with Loki more or less bowing out of the story and the Guardians of the Galaxy really only coming in at the end, that leaves Adam Warlock as our de facto main character, even though he was really only important in the prologue and has kinda sat out a lot of the more important stuff in the middle of the story. You see, in order to save the universe and put everything back in order, the heroes are going to have to split up the Warped Avengers, but they don't want that to happen because the Warped Avengers kind of like their weird universe, like being alive, and they helped out in this situation, so it would be a pretty lame way to pay them back by completely destroying their universe. The only problem is they have no universe to go home to, so after the Hulk vanquishes the giant spider monster with the help of the Space Stone, they decide, hey, you know what, we have all the powers of the universe and creation at our fingertips, let's just create you a whole new pocket universe to live in. And Drax and Arthur Douglas are gonna help you out because Drax was always of two souls anyway, so he's uniquely suited for this situation, which they do. With the day more or less saved, although let's face it was pretty much saved in issue 5, and this is all cleanup, the Avengers and the Infinity Watch get dropped back off on Earth. They're not there for longer than 5 minutes before they once again all start fighting over who gets to keep the collected Infinity Stones. Kang no doubt wants the Time Stone for helping out and being a good guy, but they're not gonna let that happen. Adam Warlock wants the Soul Stone because that's kind of his thing, and this event has all been about restoring status quo for cosmic characters. Everyone agrees though that Gamora shouldn't get anything, especially Phi Lavelle and Moondragon, who came in from another universe that Requiem destroyed. Only that was a different Gamora than this Gamora, and technically, yeah, Gamora was a bad guy and did a bad thing, but really only Thanos that she killed stayed dead, and everything that went wrong with the Warped Universe was her just trying to clean up her mess, and she only did it in the first place because her friends on the Guardians were kind of being ununderstanding dicks. Adam Warlock is equally confused and figures there's no time to wade through this tangled moral web, and so he just sends Gamora to space-time out to think about what she's done. He then also decides pretty much apropos of nothing that all of these big fights over the Infinity Stones are just gonna keep happening time and time again, and that the only way to stop them is by using the amazing power of the Infinity Stones to give these lifeless rocks, well, lives and minds of their own so they can choose for themselves where they want to go and what they want to do. This ends up kind of biting Warlock in the ass as he assumes the Soul Stone, if given a mind of its own, would want to hang out with him. It doesn't, and like the Dragon Balls, they all kind of explode and go off into space. And with that, the comic is pretty much done, but we do get to see where Gamora went off to a strange desert planet where she is still being haunted by the ghost of her adoptive father Thanos, but don't worry, she's got a little bit more company. The Magus is alive somehow also. And they're gonna be road buddies, having adventures, learning lessons, and I'm sure they'll be back when the story needs them to be back. And hey, speaking of adventures, did Adam Warlock stop the Infinity Apocalypse? I get the feeling many of you don't remember this, but that's the whole reason Adam Warlock is here in the first place and what kicked off these events. The answer is no, apparently he didn't, and we're gonna get one more special issue after this to explain what happened next. Oh goody as the comic ends. And so that was Infinity Wars issue number 6, everybody, and wow, what a wet fart of a finale this one was. I rarely ever say this, but boy was the prologue material way better than the actual story. The two biggest problems are obvious, and that is a lack of focus. This really had no main character, despite starting off as something of a Guardians of the Galaxy story before morphing into I don't even know what. The other is stakes, and that is there really didn't seem to be any. I didn't really care one way or another whether or not the Warp's universe managed to live on or not. Clearly Marvel editorial did. They see that as a potential moneymaker. Devondra was a nothing personality-less villain, and Gamora's turn to the dark side, which was an interesting premise at first, was completely squandered. Even the story couldn't decide whether or not she was good or bad. But by far the worst part, though, is that at the end of the day, this event is guilty of the most cardinal sin of events, and that is nothing really changed. Oh sure, there's a new universe, and you might get to read some stories there at some point, but also maybe not. The Infinity Stones are alive now, and I'm sure we'll see more of that in Donny Cates' Guardians run. But did we really need this multi-part storyline to get there? No, I don't think we did. The one saving grace of Infinity Wars is the artwork. Hey, not a lot might have happened, but at least it was really pretty nothing. Ultimately, though, I'd give this story a 5 out of 10, and I feel bad for Jerry Duggan. I normally really love his work, and it feels like this got taken away from him, or he lost the thread at some point, and I hope he can bounce back with something better down the line.
Hey there everyone, it's your old pal Cape Joel again. I want to thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed what you saw, and if you did, why not take a closer look at some of these other videos I have available from the channel. Then you can follow me on Twitter and Facebook at Cape Joel, so you're always up to speed on what I'm doing next. And hey, if you're in a supportive mood, why not check out my Patreon page? Patrons get exclusive access to videos and content before anyone else, and you can do so for as little as $1 a month. I would really appreciate it, and with that, I will be sure to be back again next time with even more great content that smacks of greatness. Bye-bye, everyone.